So we're just gonna start talking, and then I'll be able to cut this video down. So what I was saying, right, is that I have dual mandates as an engineer, right? And the way that I see myself as an engineer, I have a responsibility to a couple of different groups of people.
Right.
My primary responsibility, right? Well, let me say it this way. Ultimately, my major responsibility is a moral responsibility to myself to make sure that I'm not putting out unsafe software into cars, right? The most important thing that I think about on a daily basis, number one, and the thing that would be the most egregious thing for me personally to do would be to, in my job as a lead calibrator, to release calibrations to a vehicle program that I believe are not 100% safe and fully validated, right? Meaning 100%, like, I'm sure that the user, even if the user tried to screw up this vehicle program and tried to crash the car, that I wouldn't have software in that box, in the box of a controller in the car, that I wouldn't have put software in that box that would increase the ability of the user to hurt himself or to do something stupid that could mangle the car and increase warranty costs, like, dramatically. And I couldn't do anything, and I wouldn't want to release anything that would allow the user to tamper with any system that I believe is mission critical or safety critical. Or in the case of odometer, that might not be safety critical, but that is critical to the valuation of that car going forward, right? Because once a car comes off the lot, we talk about how it loses a lot of value. But a car doesn't just lose value coming off the lot and then exist as a car the rest of the way, right? The value of that asset on the road is constantly fluctuating based on things like the global economy, based on things like the local economy, based on things like how much money your friend wants to give you for your car at any given day, right? I mean, if I have a car that's worth $15,000 and my friend tomorrow is like, hey, I just got a big promotion at work, I'm going to give you $16,500 for it, you're probably going to take that offer, right?
Oh, yeah.
Even though your car might have a KBB value of $15,000, if your friend tomorrow wants to buy it for $16,500, it's your prerogative to do that, right? So anyway, my ultimate mandate, right, is a moralistic one to myself to not be unsafe, right? To keep people safe, ultimately. Now, that's my ultimate mandate. Now, underneath that, I have two other mandates, right? And that's my dual mandate. So I have a responsibility to myself to not lie and to be honest with how I feel and how my professional opinion is informing my personal opinion on stuff, right? So when I talk about autopilot publicly, and I say things like, if my family finds themselves in a Tesla and they and they're whoever has them in their Tesla is giving them kind of giving them a demonstration of the systems in a Tesla. I've told my close family members to just avoid using autopilot, right? This is nothing personal against Tesla. There's no vendetta here against Tesla. I mean, there is a vendetta against Tesla, but it has nothing to do with the engineering, other than the fact that I personally believe, with my professionally informed personal opinion, that autopilot has not been fully validated and is not safe on public roads, right? So I can say that because I am a subject matter expert in some of these fields that touch what autopilot is, right? I'm not sitting around writing ADAS software every day, but I do have a lot of background on this stuff. And I have worked on programs like this in a professional capacity for years, right? So whether or not I am the de facto subject matter expert in any conversation, at the end of the day, I am a subject matter expert, right? So taking that part of the conversation to this odometer stuff, right? I am a true subject matter expert when it comes to odometer management, right? When it comes to the intricacies, the technical intricacies of how this stuff, how the sausage gets made, right? I know how the sausage gets made. Now, I'm not going to sit here and spill the beans on how the sausage gets made. But to be fair, that information is all public, right? Like I mentioned in my original video, the patent literature for this stuff is incredibly extensive because all these major OEMs are fighting tooth and nail to have systems in place that prevent this exact type of fraud from happening, right? This potential for odometer fraud, which is a huge liability, not just for the OEM or the dealer or the customer, but for everybody. right? Nobody, when odometer fraud is possible and or prevalent, everybody loses, right? I think ultimately that's what I wanted to make clear.
Right.
And then as we talk about my dual mandate, the other side of that dual mandate, I have my mandate to myself to be honest and to be professional in any public opinions I might have. But at the same time, I also have a responsibility to my company, right? GM employs me. I make a lot of money every year from GM, right? And I love working for GM. But that being said, my job, right? My corporate mandate in engineering isn't exclusively to GM, right? I have a responsibility to myself and to my company to be a good corporate citizen, right? To not walk around punching people in the face or getting in physical altercations with my buddy Charles Gasparino. But what I really need to do, right, is I need to balance all these dual things that I'm responsible for, and I need to make an informed public. I need to make an informed public opinion based on my expertise. When it comes to situations like this. And if I'm going to say anything publicly, what I need to do is I need to say that publicly, and I need to be really transparent with why I'm saying that. Make sense? Cool. Thanks.